Yo, what up? It's your boy Jeff Hargrove back with the Gaylord Hanson team at Loan Depot for What Do You Know About a Mortgage? Where we do a podcast bringing in cool people from all over different professions, let them highlight their situations, give them their flowers, and then we ask them at the end, what do they know about a mortgage? To kind of trip them up a little bit, get educated, and find out where we are in the world with everything. So today we have a very special guest, man. One of my brothers, I like to call a really good friend, doing exceptional things in this world. I don't even know where to start, but other than a brother from Houston, Texas, who climbed his way through the ranks, became the #1 football player in the state of Texas, ended up going to Notre Dame, starring, became a captain of the football team there, got drafted by the Ravens, played for the Colts in the NFL, decided that, you know what, I'm way bigger than that, so let me go to Harvard and get a business degree, and then I'm going to be an entrepreneur and just start all kind of cool different ventures. And if you don't know who this person is sitting across from me right now, let me introduce you to the one, the only Jerome Sapp. What's up,
What's
brother?
good, man?
Yes, sir. Yeah. How you doing, baby?
Man, I'm good, man. It's good to be here. Good to be with you.
Appreciate you.
Yeah,
yes,
man.
thank you for having it. I mean, we're building up our clientele slowly but surely, but you are a great honored guest to be here, man.
Sure, it's an honor to be here, man.
For sure. So let's kick it off like how we kind of started.
Yep.
If you don't mind, tell me a little bit about growing up in Houston, Texas. I know your story because I know you, but let the world know, you know, what it's like for brothers like us in the inner city, where to come from and the struggles and obstacles it took for you to just first have the confidence to be who you were eventually going to become in life.
Yeah, man, that's a good question, man. Growing up in the South, specifically Houston, Texas, even more specific, 5th Ward of Houston, Texas, which is, you know, if you know your history, you know, in terms of segregation, the wards in Houston was where black people were, you know, sent to go live.
Yep.
So you still have shotgun houses, and you know it was an impoverished area. But there was a lot of love in my household, even though my father was imprisoned for most of my life. So it was my mom raising my brother, my sister, and I. So there was a lot of potential for mischief, I should say.
Yeah.
But I always knew that, you know, my surroundings weren't the end, and there was more to life than meets the eye, as my mom would tell me. So my world was bigger than what was right outside my door. And, you know, the key to that for me and in my household was education. So I could just remember from a young age, man, even, you know, doing homework by candlelight, because we didn't have electricity. The lights was off.
You know how that go.
But my mom wanted to make sure we did our homework, so we had to do it by candlelight.
Mom's was very about education, it sounds like. She's not playing no games.
Very much about education, but the cool thing was she was a realist, you know what I'm saying? Like, it wasn't you had to get straight A's, you know, honor roll. It was like, baby, as long as I know you're trying your hardest, I don't care what you come home with, as long as I know you're giving it your all.
She's going to push that, though. She's going to push that, right.
Exactly. Gotcha. And the interesting thing, man, I was in special ed all through elementary school.
Get the fuck word? Yo, that caught me off guard. My bad. I never knew that. Are you serious?
Yeah.
Was it a dyslexia or was it a...
So the good thing is, man, I was in special ed. The crazy thing was I was in special ed all through elementary school. I had a learning disorder that no one ever diagnosed. I was dyslexic, but my mom was working 2 or 3 jobs. You know, the public education system. You know, no disrespect to them. They had their hands full.
How it go? Yeah.
But it was one of them things where I knew the answers, but I couldn't articulate it. Was
it the reading backwards that some people struggle with, or
it was numbers? The
wording. Oh, the numbers.
Numbers backwards. But in terms of, if I read a paragraph, if you asked me to tell you what I just read, it was hard to do that type thing. So, you know, the crazy thing is I spent a lot of time outside the classroom in these special ed pockets where we had longer times to take tests. But the crazy thing is I remember starting clubs, basically, the Gerome Sapp Club. And I would charge people $1 to be in it. I mean, I was
in special ed?
In special ed, man.
Wait a minute, what's this club about?
So it's I feel bad now, man, but, you know, basically I was the best athlete in school.
Right.
And, you know, people wanted to associate with a good athlete. So I would say, hey, man, you be on my team, you know, and you'll be the winner if you join my club. Right. And I charge them $1 to be in the club a week. But the thing was...
A week. I love this.
A week.
I love this.
But on Fridays, we had a bake sale. So I would spend 25 cents for each member So they felt like they were getting something, and I would pocket 75 cents a week.
How old were you when you were doing
I
this?
was 5th grade.
Duh, you was already a leader. You already knew how to lead.
Yeah.
You knew how to actually reward your members, but not give them too much.
Not give them too
you kept
much.
them in fear, but you also had kept them cool.
Kept them cool. But then the powers that be caught a hold of this.
Oh, the teachers, the president, principals didn't like that.
They didn't like that.
Shaking down.
Shaking down the special ed kids. So,
oh, that's crazy.
So, but the interesting thing was, man, I told my mom, hey, I didn't want to be in special ed going in middle school because I knew I could handle it. And she knew if I was challenged, I could handle it.
Right.
And so the best thing she did for me was she put me in advanced classes going into middle school.
So you can go just, okay, so for those who may not know back then, or if the system don't work like that right now, you went from special ed to where you would be a normal person's normal classes to advanced classes. You don't just skip. You normally have to get promoted into advanced classes. So how'd you skip regular classes going from special ed classes to advanced classes?
Well, I don't know. It's one of them things, man.
Did they test you in? Did you have to test in?
No. Surprisingly, they didn't. My mom was very persuasive, I guess.
Okay.
But she knew if I was challenged that I could focus and get it out, basically.
Okay.
And that was the most important thing that could have ever happened to me is my mom persuading the powers that be in middle school to put me in advanced classes. Because from that point on, I was challenged academically from that point on in education. And I was forced to have to focus more in class. And as a result, I don't want to say it was easy, but I was forced to focus so I could get out the answers that when I needed to.
Did you find that those teachers, was there a specific teacher that helped you see the numbers the way they were supposed to be seen? Was there something or someone who actually helped you turn that corner? Or was it a mental thing? Was it a mental block that said, I'm not being challenged, so I'm halfway in this, I'm halfway caring, I halfway see it, I don't care to put my attention into it. And now that I'm challenged, okay, I'm really going to figure this out myself. How did the pieces come together for those who may be struggling with that same situation now?
Man, Jeff, you hit it on the head, man. It was a mental thing.
Okay.
So it was me looking within myself and having to focus on myself. And it was one of them things where I got the answer, but I was moving on to the next thing that could be. Like in reality, I just need to get the answer, say the answer, but my mind was moving on to the next thing.
Right.
So it was like, no, stop here, give that answer type thing.
You're actually moving too fast.
It's too fast type thing. Right. Which is kind of interesting. It's kind of funny looking back on it, but it was really just looking outside of myself and saying, all right, man, you got this opportunity, do something with it.
Yeah.
You're in advanced classes now, do something with it. Prove that you should be here. Because I always had a chip on my shoulder, you know?
I could tell.
And this was one of the opportunities for me to prove that I belonged with the advanced kids. So I did everything I could to focus. And like I said, it wasn't easy.
No.
But it was something worthwhile, and it was something that I figured out how to do.
Wow. That's an incredible story, man. And if you don't mind, we're going to kind of pivot a little bit and fast forward because we only have a short amount of time here. And you have such an incredible story. I think I'm going to have to bring you back for a second show if you don't mind.
That's what's up.
But fast forwarding to, but this all is going to tie together. Fast forwarding to high school now.
Yep.
You kind of left the Fifth Ward section of private school or public school and was, I'm guessing, recruited or asked to come and go to Lamar. We know how this goes. Typically, your best athletes get recruited to go to a better school. And you go to Lamar, which is a great school, academically and sports-wise. I want to say Beyonce went to Lamar as well. Okay.
And Kelly Rowland.
Shout out to Kelly Rowland. I love the chocolate sisters, man. Kelly Rowland, shout out to you. Anyway, that ain't got nothing to do with nothing. So when you were there, challenging yourself now coming from, and I'm glad I never knew this about you, coming from the special ed situation, having that chip, to now knowing physically, you let's just be real, God gave you genes in the creation that was way more dominant than your peers. But you still had to work if you wanted to be the best at your God-given gifts. Where did that switch for you turn from? And I know plenty of athletes that have gone through the system that just relied on talent all the way till I know some of them went professionally, never really did what they were supposed to do because they never had a true technical work ethic. And I know some that were not blessed with that many gifts and were dogs. They just outworked everybody and they had that. Where was your mental switch? Because I know it's in you that it was just like, I'm not only going to athletically be dominant, mentally, I'm going to be dominant and I'm going to outwork and blah, 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 blah. How did you get that?
Well, first I want to say Beyonce went to Lamar for 2 weeks then transferred to the High School for Performing and Visual Arts.
Oh, okay.
And Kayla Rowland stayed with me at Lamar for the whole freshman year. But this is important because my high school was right on the edge of the Fifth Ward in the hood and the richest part of Houston.
Oh, really?
River Oaks.
Oh, wow.
The richest, oldest money in Texas almost. And they had a magnet program, a business magnet program that you can get in on. So basically, I was having to study finance and accounting in high school, like literally. And by the time you were a junior at my high school, you had to go out and get business internships. So kids would work
high school?
In high school.
Wow.
So we were learning about econ. I mean, econ 1, econ 2, micro, macro econ.
Yeah.
So all this stuff in high school, which further challenged me. But to answer your question, you know, it was one of them things. My freshman year, from my freshman year to my sophomore year, I gained 39 pounds.
Okay.
And probably grew 3 inches.
Now, was that coming from being like visual? Let's help us visualize. Is that a scrawny you? I mean, because you've never been scrawny. You've
I was as a freshman 160 something pounds.
Okay.
And by the time I was a sophomore, I was 190 something pounds.
Okay.
That's
a big difference for those. Yeah.
That's a huge difference. Yeah. And I love the weight room, you know. Okay. I love the weight room. Mama fed me at home, you know, and it was one of them things. I started on varsity as a safety. I was a tailback, but the coach was like, "Hell, you and your brother built perfectly for the safety positions." So my brother and I were the starting safeties on varsity. Me as a sophomore, my brother as a junior.
Okay.
So to answer your question, when it started to really hit me, after that sophomore season, one of my coaches, who was like a father to me, a mentor to me, Coach Malowitz, came to me and was like, "Hey, Sapp, let me talk to you. I want to make sure you're taking care of your grades, because do you know who led the team in tackles?" And at this time, I was a young kid. I was like, "I don't know." He said, "You did." "Do you know who made All District?" This is before All District came out. I was like, "Me? Yep, All District." Honorable mention All State as a sophomore starting.
That's good, yeah.
And
especially Texas Division, 5A is the
biggest,
division?
Yep.
Yeah.
And I got, I think, Defensive Player of the Year as a sophomore.
Wow.
And he said, "Listen, you have a unique ability. Physically, you're already," I remember him describing it to me. He was like, "Your back's already shaped like a V, right?"
Yeah, right.
And I was like, "Oh, okay, yeah." And he said, "You have an opportunity to do something that a lot of kids don't have an opportunity to do. So make sure that academically you always stay eligible, and not only just eligible,
that's what's up,
but make sure you stay well eligible so you can be recruited by anybody."
Right.
Because most colleges come and kids aren't, they
don't got the grades.
They don't have the grades,
right.
and I must say, man, I've played with a lot of great athletes that were better athletes than me, that just didn't have the academics to get into college, and that was something that I was always afraid of, is having it physically but not academically. So that conversation changed everything for me.
Wow.
It put it all in perspective, and it made it more tangible now. Because I started getting recruiting letters as a sophomore. That typically doesn't happen to junior.
To your junior year, yeah.
And some guys senior, but I started getting letters from big-time powerhouse programs, not just the generic letters, but handwritten letters.
The handwritten ones are the real ones. Yeah, that's the real ones.
So that was the changing point. And then obviously at home, my mom was reinforcing all these things too. So, yeah.
Okay. And that, but where was the mind switch of I am going to now be dominant mentally? Where was your mental preparation at? Yeah,
so that's a good question, man. So my brother and I were our best advocates for being competitors.
Okay. So your older brother pushed you.
Yeah. I mean, he was 13 months older than me. So it was a healthy competition. Also, my best friend, who got drafted 2 spots ahead of me, ironically, best friend since middle school.
Wow.
We wanted to be the best, and we loved competing, man. We loved competing. And that chip that I had on my shoulder, I didn't ever want to be outdone. Right. I didn't ever want to leave a workout thinking someone worked harder than me. And not just someone in that workout, but someone anywhere in the world. I remember thinking, I want to be the best in the world. I remember thinking this as a young kid.
Age to be thinking that. Yeah.
And I was willing to put in the work. And that was the thing. I was willing to compete. I loved competition.
Yeah.
I felt that every time I competed, I got better, physically and mentally. Yes. I learned something. So, which is unique. A lot of kids don't like to compete today.
No.
I love.
Well, they get participation award trophies now, just for showing up.
Just for showing up.
Competition isn't pushed and focused as it used to be back in the day.
Absolutely, but also too something personal. I would go visit my dad almost every Saturday for a while in prison. I remember the long drive into the penitentiary, and imagine the walls being like castles walls, and my dad was like the king of the castle. That's what we talk about in the visits, you know what I'm saying? And I remember, my dad was he sold cocaine. He was a big time
dope boy.
He was a dope boy, right? But he was also a street fighter too. And he'd always tell me, you ain't got that dog in you. You don't have that lion in you, And I remember it would make me so mad. One, because how do you know? You're behind here. You don't know what I'm doing.
Right.
How can you assume that? And I remember, so when I got on the football field, I remember thinking, I'll show you what kind of dog or lion I have in me.
That's the driving force.
That was the thing.
That was your driving force.
And every time I hit someone, it was almost
it was more than personal.
It was violent.
It was more than personal.
It was proving something.
I'm going to show you.
I'm going to prove something to my father.
It has nothing to do with the players.
Nothing to do with you.
It's
much respect to you.
Right.
But what I'm about to do to you
has nothing to do with
deeper
you.
than you.
Yeah.
Type thing.
Yeah.
And that was the thing that drove me.
And that's that dog.
Yeah.
And that's that dog.
Yeah.
And it still hasn't let up. And we're going to pivot to that because here's the segment of what we like to call when and how did you bet on yourself?
I like it.
All right, so betting on yourself is a question and segment of basically we ask, where was that fork in that road for you? Where was the situation where you said, it doesn't have to be sports related, where you said, I'm going to not do the mundane grind and whatever that may be, I'm going to go bet on myself and I'm going to take all the risk when it don't look right, when that tunnel's dark, when there ain't no light out there. I'm going to bet on myself to make sure I know what's in me and I'm going to prove it to the world, but more importantly to myself. What was that moment for you?
Well, I think the first moment was, as I mentioned, my dad was a dope boy. So obviously there's still contacts in the drug world.
Sure.
There was gangs, but I chose not to do that, and I chose to go the route of sports. And the thing that I love most is the dope boys let me do that.
Typically in every hood, the dope boys, if you're really good at sports, they're going to steer you away. And that's the one thing I do say. There's negative connotations on dope boys and gangs and things. Let me tell you, man, growing up in the inner city, there's only certain people that are going to look out for you. And this is a dog-eat-dog world. Dope boys are some of the coolest dudes and the most violent dudes on earth.
But they got the biggest
hearts. And we all aspire to be in some aspects with the girls, the cars, the money. But beyond that, they the ones that tell you, nah, youngin, go that way.
The real
you
OGs.
got a talent. The real OGs that tell you, you got a talent, go that way. We're not going to let you get a part of this.
Absolutely.
So that was your actual defining moment.
That was a defining moment.
Because Pops already had it sold. And I'm sure he had connections. He could have plugged you.
Absolutely.
Or you could have went and did whatever you did on your own trying to prove in the streets you was better than your Pops.
Exactly. But, it was one of them things where I didn't have to, They gave me a pass. They didn't pressure me. Go do your thing in sports. We'll always be here if you need us. And that was the first defining moment. So I had a pass to go be me and do what I needed to do. The second defining moment was choosing finance at Notre Dame. I could have chosen any major I wanted to, obviously. But I wanted to, actually, let me rewind that. The second thing is choosing to go to Notre Dame.
Right.
Everyone.
Because not going to Texas rubbed a lot of people the wrong way in the state of Texas.
That's huge in Texas. Especially my best friend went to Texas and was a cornerback.
Okay.
And we were voted the top tandem corner and safety in the nation. So he chose Texas. We were supposed to take our talents to Texas.
College,
I mean, Texas had the #1 recruiting class in the nation that year. It was stacked.
Wow.
Oh, man.
Shout out to my boy Kenny.
Kenny Hyder.
Kenny Hyder was part of that class. Chris Sims. And you were supposed to be part of that class.
I was supposed to be because I was the #1 player in Texas, too.
Yeah.
I was on my visit with all of them.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And when I chose, and it was hard. Mac Brown was amazing. Texas was amazing. Everything about Texas. My brother ended up dating one of the Texas Angels that hosted me. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But it was something more, man. I wanted a challenge. That would have been too easy for me to go to Texas.
Wow.
It'd have been way too easy.
But that actually fits with your character from what you've been telling us.
Yeah.
You don't normally go the real path of, you want the path of resistance. You want the most resistance, not the least.
And, it was a matter of I didn't want to leave my mom, you know what I'm saying? And my mom, the thing that made the decision was my mom pulled me aside. I got coaches showing up at my door. It was just like the movie Blue Chips.
Yeah.
Coaches lined up, all these Bobby Bowden, showing up in class, pulling me out of class.
Right.
And my mom told me, she said, listen, I want you to go experience the world. don't stay back in Texas for me. You know, I want you to go
Mom's is an OG.
experience the world on your terms.
She's an OG.
And, you know, don't stay in Texas
She knew
for
better.
me.
She knew it was better for you.
And she let me know, you know, in making that decision, I won't be able to come see you all the time. But this decision, college will take you to the next level from boy to man that I can't do.
Wow.
And it's okay. Like, it's okay if you go. Like,
and it hurt her more than you know.
It hurt
her to tell you that.
Yep.
But she knew you had to go do bigger things.
Absolutely.
And now let's pivot to the bigger things because I literally need you for 2 shows.
Yeah.
I didn't even get to, we're just now jumping into rares and we almost out of time. It's crazy, right? And we still didn't even get to touch on finishing Notre Dame, all the great challenges of becoming a captain there, going to play in the NFL, all the challenge, playing with Ed Reed, the great Ed Reed and Ray Lewis Hall of Famers on the Baltimore Ravens, playing with Peyton Manning on the Colts. And Mike Doss, OSU, go Bucks, in that backfield back there, and then going to Harvard and getting a business degree. Let's touch on rares because I know that's an app that you have right now. Rares, tell us how it started, where did the idea come from, and how did you just, once again, bet on yourself with this idea?
Yeah, man. Well,
and please explain to the people what it is.
So first of all, Rares is the first true stock market for collectible sneakers, meaning basically, you know, people can't get access to sneakers they want, either because of, you know, they just don't have access or they can't afford them. We're talking about sneakers that are thousands of dollars, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands. So what we do is we purchase the sneakers, we qualify them via the SEC, the same governing body that governs the SEC, and we split them into shares. We securitize them and split them into shares and allow people to own fractional shares or fractional ownership. So basically, you don't own the whole shoe, you own a piece of it. So when that shoe supposedly or hopefully appreciates, so do the shares that you own in that particular shoe. So essentially, we democratize the concept of investments into sneakers. Sneakers is an asset class that's outperformed gold, the S&P 500, and many other traditional high-powered securities, but most people haven't looked at it as an investment class until now, until Rares.
It's always the people that's on the forefront that, you know, can bring that vision to light. Amazon, a Google, a Uber Eats, or Uber in general, where the concept seems like, when I first heard of Uber, I'm like, bro, I'm not getting in a stranger's car. What you mean? And now it's worldwide accepted, unquestionably. It was the vision to have it. So with that vision that you have now, customer retention being one of the biggest things that Rares will probably have to deal with. What does the algorithm say? How does an entrepreneur in your position look to define customer retention to keep that model building?
Well, obviously, it starts with the asset you offer, right? You know, the sneakers we acquire, they need to be dope. They need to be things that people want to have ownership in. They need to be things that will appreciate to make people money, because that's the end of the day, we're an investment app. You want to make money. So that starts with the asset. So sourcing the right assets. And then that starts with, the next thing is the design. So we're constantly changing design.
Are you talking about the design of the application?
The design of the actual application.
Easy, friendly, usable.
A/B testing. So for one demographic of people, we have, you know, this design. For another demographic, we have that design. Then behind the scenes, we say, okay, which one was more successful in terms of retaining customers, basically. So it's a lot of that going on, which is awesome. You know, I tell people, it's my dream. I have a dream job. I mixed my 2 passions in life, which were sneakers and finance, and created a company out of it. But I tell you one thing, all those visits with my father in prison, he was preparing me for this. Not necessarily with sneakers, but he never mentioned cocaine or any other drug because he wasn't proposing that.
No, he didn't come at you like that.
He taught me the dynamics of scarcity, supply and demand, and what creates scarcity and the market, why things are valuable, why things go up in value. He was teaching me about the stock market, basically, but using his street knowledge to deliver it, which was more digestible to me.
I tell people all the time, if you could sell dope, you can sell a house. You can sell a car. You can sell a product. Unfortunately, the scarcity of opportunities sometimes in the inner city doesn't allow someone to visualize because they need something quick. When your belly's hurting and it's aching and them lights is off and your mom's in there not knowing what's going on, she tripping, you as a man, you're going to want to go do something, even as a young boy.
Absolutely.
With that being said, scalability. With the product that you currently have, me and you have talked numerous things about different ideas, but I feel your scalability platform is crazy.
Yep.
You can literally take the same concept and put it into purses or artists or cars or whatever, collectible cars. Or
Yep.
So where do you see the future of what you're starting now? Because I don't just see you as a Rares app sneaker guy or in your team. Shout out to my man Hector on the Rares team and the whole Rares team, period, point blank. But where do you guys see the scalability of this and the future of it?
Yeah, well, first of all, shout out to my team. You know, you can't do anything epic with a basic team.
Facts.
And my team is dynamic. But to answer your question, Coach Tyrone Willingham taught me one thing at Notre Dame. He said you have to be able to be focused on the here and now, but aware of future possibilities. So right now we're focused on sneakers, and we are the leader in sneakers and alternative asset investing. But we're completely aware of other alternative assets, whether it be intellectual property, meaning music rights, masters, actually IPOing an artist and democratizing the concept of the label where fans can now support that artist to create an album or create the revenue to go on tour.
Sure.
And for an exchange, they get portions of the tour revenue type
Absolutely.
thing. Or we can go into collectible baseball cards, football cards. The sky's the limit. And eventually we want to become the stock market for investing in collectible assets. Where you can come on and find any hobby or asset you want to invest in and invest in it that simple.
And you be the platform for it.
And we'll be the platform for that.
Man, let me tell you something, man. This guy right here is special, bro. I knew it the first day I met him. Actually, I met him at Hyde nightclub. And, me being the competitor that I am, I told him, he told me play safety. I was at tight end, so I told him I'd run him over as soon as I met him.
He did.
I was like, yo, I'll run you over, bro. Like, there's no. And right off then, my respect for him grew. He laughed. We had a great conversation, and it's been building from there on.
Absolutely.
And it still is building, brother. I got to bring you back for a second episode, because we need like an hour with you, bro. Maybe even 2 hours. But we got to jump into our segment now. This segment is called "What Do You Know About a Mortgage?" 1, 2, 3 LTV. So we got 5 questions here for "What do you know about a mortgage?" I'm going to try to help you as much as I can. These are yes or no, true or false, or multiple, whatever I give you the answer to, or question 2. Question number 1: when buying a home, if the appraisal comes in lower than the offered price, who pays the difference?
The seller.
So if you go and buy a home and you say, I'm going to offer you $300,000, which right now in the market everybody's offering way over. It's crazy right now. If the home appraises at $280, that typically the buyer is normally who it's in the contract. That
makes sense.
But the buyer is the one who will normally. So be prepared if you're going to offer over whatever that asking price is. Be prepared to have to come in with that short change of money if it needs be. Question number 2. What does LTV stand for? Is it loan to value? Is it lowering the variable? Is it Lawrence Taylor VC?
I'm going to go out on a limb and say loan to value.
There we go. We got one. There we go. All right. Number 3. Can you buy a home with a credit score of 510?
Let's define home, right?
Can you buy a house? Okay, can you buy a house with a credit score of 510?
I believe there's all kind of different type of mortgages. So I'm going to say
this guy's so Notre Dame right now. This guy's so Harvard.
It depends on the type of loan package and the type of home you want to buy with that credit score.
Ooh, but he was right. Okay, typically your minimum credit score is a 580.
Okay.
But with anything below a 580 to 500, as long as you put 10% down, you can actually buy a house. So you actually finessed his way up into that answer. I like that. Question number 4. Yes or no? Should your loan come with a pre-penalty payment? Yes or no? Should your loan come with a pre-penalty payment?
No.
Good answer.
Yeah.
You should not have a loan with a pre-penalty payment. That was back in the days when you had subprime mortgages where they had kind of 2-year pre-pay, 3-year pre-penalty payments. Those are no longer available. They're far gone. In the standard of subclasses, do not put yourself in a situation where you have a pre-penalty payment. Question number 5. This is a personal question. I asked all the guests who are local here. After the club, we did our thing. We did time to go eat. Are we going to Roberto's or Peppermill?
Oh man, I've had some good nights at Peppermill.
Yes, sir.
So Peppermill.
There we go. No, hey, Roberto's is still that spot.
Oh, yeah.
But Peppermill is much better, better.
Yeah.
My brother, tell the people where they can find you at. Tell them your ads, all the information that they need to know about you, my brother.
Absolutely. So you can find me at Rares app, or you can download the Rares app in the iOS store at Rares app. Soon to be Android too, I believe in the next 2 weeks. Or you can go to rares.io to do everything you do on the app as well.
Nice.
So, yep.
Nice. With that said, we want to thank you for your time. Thank you for, it's been a pleasure. Like I said, we bringing him back. He coming back for a round 2. He has to, man. There's so much more we left on the table.
Absolutely.
As this podcast, you already know what it is. Your boy's signing out. We out.